Alrighty, beginning of day 3. I'm already regretting it. It's about 90 degrees out with a heat index of about 100. Where we left off, I have the bottom sheathing basically good to go. I still gotta secure some of it. I'm gonna cut the window out so it'll be easier to kind of see where my framing is to secure that, and then nail off the header as well from both sides. But it should be fun. Let's see how far we get today. Hey everyone, I thought I would try something new and try voiceover commentary on this video. I've had a few people reach out and ask additional questions about what I'm trying to accomplish in these videos, and since I haven't started talking towards the camera so much yet in these early videos, I thought doing a voiceover may help with that. What you just saw was me cutting out the bottom portion of the rough opening for the window, and now I'm securing that sheathing to the framing I installed in the last video, and then I'll continue cutting out the rough opening. Here I'm removing sheathing that's covering the header so I can nail it off properly before permanently installing the sheathing around the window. I had family in the week of this video recording, and I wasn't about to turn down any help that I could get to move this project along. There's one remaining screw at the top of this sheathing that just refused to come out. I tried angling my drill at all angles to try and grab, but I ended up just popping it off through the sheathing and then removing the screw afterwards. I'm able to cut out the rest of the rough opening for the window, and then I go around securing the panels to the framing now that I can see it. If y'all have never swung a hammer before, let alone for 2 days straight, you'll find that it really taxes your muscles.
Yeah, there's a festival today.
If you couldn't hear that, he said there's a lot of golf carts today, and in this particular town, on any given day, there are a lot of golf carts. The town that this property's in had a 3 or 4 day festival, and I believe today was the last day of that festival, and we happened to be on the parade route, or at least the route to bring the people to and fro the events. So later in the video you're going to hear kids hollering from the back of open bed or flatbed semi-trucks, cheerleaders, football players throwing candy, just having a good time celebrating. So bear with me, I know there's a lot of road noise in this particular video, but this home happens to be on a corner of a fairly busy road. Nails, 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 and more nails. This is a 2x12 header, so I'm nailing in 6 16-penny nails every 6 to 12 inches, depending on what it's next to. So it's a lot of hand nailing going on. The unfortunate thing is, I do own a framing nailer and air compressor, but as I alluded to in the previous couple videos, I don't have any power at this house, and I also don't own a generator. So I'll be looking into buying a battery-powered framing nailer for future projects, because this just takes too long and it's hard on the body. Now that I've finished nailing off the header, I'm reinstalling the permanent sheathing for this side of the home. Here I realized that there's a piece of trim that I should have removed when I was removing the siding on the house that's blocking my path for installing the sheathing. Some of you may hear the light rumbling of a semi-truck in the background. In the distance I can see a semi-truck flatbed with cheerleaders and football players on the back of it, being delivered to, I assume, the parade route in town, or maybe the end of it. At this point, I just decide to watch everyone drive by, wave and say hello. Alright, back to work. Let's remove this piece of trim that's blocking my sheathing. Time to get out the taller ladder and cut some excess sheathing in my window rough opening. I've decided at this point it would probably make the most sense to go ahead and remove the rest of the old siding and this small window that they had up in the attic space. Later I find out that this attic space was used as a temporary loft for somebody that was previously living here. Now I'm taking measurements to add in a full sheet of sheathing and a little bit of foreshadowing. I make some mistakes. It may be hard to tell in some of these short videos, but this is about 4.5, 5 hours worth of recording video condensed down into less than 20 minutes. So we're probably 3 hours into the day at this point. And 3 hours into the day, you can get a little out of sorts. Here I'm grabbing some extra 2x material to fill in the opening that the window left to make sure that my sheathing will be properly secured. The easiest method for me to get the correct angle on a cut is to simply put it in place and strike a line and then cut it down on the ground versus trying to mathematically figure it out. And this is where I make my mistake. You'll see after I'm done cutting the panel and I carry it over to the house that the angles are different. But if you take note, the header in the opening of the house is roughly centered, so both angles should be roughly the same. The left angle is correct. The right one is not, and I see that, but I'm so gassed at this point, so tired, I don't quite understand why. Here I'm screwing in a couple what I call helper screws, where I leave them proud in the wall so I can slide the sheathing up the wall, and it gives me a temporary place to hold the panel. And now you see me struggling to lift this up and understand why it's not fitting. Here I am contemplating on my next move. I decide to take the sheathing back down and take my measurements again to see where I went wrong. While comparing my measurements, I find it easier to put the pieces I cut off back on the panel to make sure I'm measuring things correctly. Keep in mind, at this point in the day, I believe it was about 108 heat index, and I was just beyond. I'm taking the cutoffs and checking the outside corners, and I see that the left one fits fine, but again, the right one's off from the miscut early on. I decide to put the sheathing back up on the wall and secure it temporarily so I can check the angles in place. After contemplating life for a while, I finally realize that I had flip-flopped my horizontal and vertical measurements, causing the cut to be incorrect. So here I am bringing the panel back down, scribing a line with my level, and cutting it appropriately. Finally, I can see that the panel's going to fit appropriately. Now I've got to install a temporary brace in the middle so I can shimmy the panel back and forth into its final place. I take the left cut triangle that was correct from the beginning, and I get my measurements for the leftmost opening, and I use a scrap piece of sheathing to fill it in. Thankfully, I haven't lost my mind, and this piece fits on the first try. I use a piece of scrap to fill in the small missing piece in the middle. Again, using the same methodology as before, take one of the triangles that matches the pitch and trace it onto a larger piece of sheeting to fit the opening. Now all that's left is the top of the gable. I've got 2 triangles that I need to add in, and I'm going to use the leftover scrap triangles and cut them down to size. I grab a piece of scrap 2x4 material to secure at the top of the gable for backing to install my sheathing on. And the last piece of sheathing is finally installed. It's time to call it quits and clean up. I install some temporary sheeting over the rough opening to secure the building for the night. In my final clip, you'll hear how gassed I am. I barely have a voice, and I have no moisture left in my body.
That's the end of day 3. I got most everything sheeted. There's still a couple pieces of sheeting. I think it's this one that I need to screw to the framing properly. But then next time I'm going to house wrap this side of the house and then flash under the window here. And we'll get to that next time. Hope to see you there.